Why on earth are we both here?
That's always the question. I get that question all the time. Why Panama? The perspective of most people about Panama always differ, right? The first thing they hear about is Panama Papers, and it's like, what are you doing in Panama?
That is interesting you said that. Most people say Panama Canal. I actually speak to a lot of people and they're like, what are the Panama Papers?
First reason why I'm here in Panama is not because of Panama. It's why did I leave Canada?
I grew up in the sort of town where you live, you're born, you work, you die. And it was my missus who came home one day and she just said, and this is like 10 years later, about 5 years ago, she said, I think we need to move to Mexico. And I was like, Mexico? If I ranked every Central and South American country, Mexico would have been in my bottom.
There's a lot of obviously like emotion, feelings, a lot of materialistic things that we just spoke about, but there's also like, to me, life fulfillment plays a big role too, right? So
Would you have considered yourself agnostic or just no label?
So there's one moment I know changed my life in terms of, okay, now I know that spirituality is true and everything around it, right?
Seeing all these different things that bind you to somewhere, bind you to where you live, your friends you talk to, the way you earn money, what you eat, everything. It's the journey that we promote inside Sovereign Soul is how do you support and be part of a group of people who are moving in a certain direction towards a greater endpoint. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Nicholas and Daniel podcast. We're live here in Panama City. It is August the 23rd of 2025. Nicholas, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, my friend.
You're welcome, sir. So, I think we should begin with a really important question. It's the first time me and you've sat down properly. This is certainly not beers, Bitcoin and a barroom table, a little bit more formal.
Yeah.
But we were talking on the way over here just about the fact that I'm not in England right now. You're definitely not in Panama.
Definitely not.
Panama.
Is it a new thing?
That's Canada.
I mean, I guess there's a neighborhood here that kind of sounds like it.
So we're not in Canada. We are in Panama. And we thought it'd be a really good place to begin just with why on earth are we both here?
Right? That's always the question. I get that question all the time. Why Panama? It's kind of funny because the perspective of most people about Panama always differ, right? The first thing they hear about is Panama Papers, and it's like, what are you doing in Panama?
That is interesting you said that. Most people say Panama Canal. I actually speak to a lot of people and they're like, what are the Panama Papers? So I think that already kind of shows what sort of world
Interesting.
spend some time in.
Absolutely. Yeah. So quite funny. I mean, the first reason why I'm here in Panama is not because of Panama. It's why did I leave Canada? I think it's the most important question. I think 3 years ago, I needed to kind of discover myself, right? To really find my true self in a sense. And I decided to take the leap to leave Canada to the jungle of Costa Rica, which ended up being the best decision I've ever made. It was risky, absolutely. Was it worth it? 100%, right? I went there with my girlfriend and our two dogs. Wanted to kind of really change the lifestyle that we had. Coming from my background, I really needed to kind of take the foot off the gas pedal for a little bit and, just dive into spirituality and kind of practice with different things such as, breath work, meditation. Did some crazy spiritual medicine ceremonies and just was able to kind of really tone it down and enjoy nature, right? Because, I come from a big city. So it was cool to really connect with earth and see what, this other side of life was all about. And then to your question, why Panama? Funny enough, when I was younger, my mentor, for some reason, always told me, Nick, I see you in Panama. And he kept telling that to me. I remember I was like in my early 20s and he kept saying, Nick, like, I really see you in Panama. I think you'd do really well there. And obviously back then, it just, it came here and went the other way.
I started traveling in my 20s. I didn't want to travel. I remember saying I didn't want to travel, and my friend was like, why would you not want to travel? my answer was, well, I have everything I need here. I grew up in the sort of town where you live, you're born, you work, you die. Just a small town out on the outsides of major cities. I think it's pretty synonymous around the world, those sorts of places that it takes a while to break out. I used to joke that where I come from, and it's a beautiful little town called Accrington in the North Valleys of the UK, but I used to joke that every year 2 people are allowed to leave. And it's a Hunger Games battle to get out of there, except when you turn up, no one's actually there. There's like 2 of you show up and you're like, oh, so I guess we get to go. Like anyone can go, just nobody tries to. Or maybe they don't want to. But anyway, it was a friend of mine that convinced me it was the right thing to do. And to cut that kind of long story short, I waited and waited for him. He wasn't ready at the time. And then one day I just left. And I left for years. And I came back about 3 or 4 years later to help the family business. And that's when I kind of got stuck and settled in the UK. And it was my missus who came home one day and she just said, this is like 10 years later, about 5 years ago, she said, I think we need to move to Mexico. And I was like, Mexico? She said, yeah, I've had a sign. And I was like, a sign? And I always joke that we're pseudo-spiritual. I've been a lot of religions over the time. So I'm open to a lot of things. And I'm also not attached to anything. We sold the family business. We were doing really well with what we were doing, but we're also like, this isn't it. Like you reach that kind of plateau. You're okay there, but you're aware something's going to change. And I'm a big proponent of change. So I will be honest, at that time, if I ranked every Central and South American country, Mexico would have been in my bottom pack. I'd have gone to Nicaragua and Costa Rica and probably every other country before Mexico. And so, but I was like, you know what? It's very rare that she comes and brings this. I'm normally like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So I said, let's go. And we were just going to go for a bit. And that was 5 years ago now. And we packed everything up. And over that course of time, we've refined that. We've really enjoyed not having a house. We sold our house in the end. We live out of 4 bags with one rule. You have to be able to carry everything from a taxi to where you're staying in one go. That's the rule. So weight, size, number of bags, can you even fit them on your shoulders, all these sorts of things.
Okay, so you're allowed to have big luggages?
You can have whatever you want.
But it has to fit.
In one, not fit, it has to be transportable. When the taxi pulls up and you exit the taxi, 2 of you must be able to carry everything. And I use the word carry because we're in places that you can't pull a little wheelie trolley. So we don't have any fixed luggage. Ours are, we have a 60 litre, a 40 litre, which is carry-on friendly as well, a front backpack, and she'll have a front backpack, and we now carry a guitar and a drum.
Wow.
So everything has got to be, so all buying decisions now are based around that. It's one of the reasons we're considering having some properties again. But anyway, so from that, we've traveled quite extensively around, and Panama is one of the places where we have our residency, and I like speaking Spanish. I would love to pull out some Spanish now, but I think I'm just going to...
I think our conversation is not going to go so well.
I was just going to say a couple of things, but I'm not going to. My Spanish is conversational, and if someone Spanish listens to this, they'll be like, technically, that's not how you say it.
Yeah.
So we come back as a result of our residency. We got to come back to Panama anyway. I do like Panama. I haven't traveled extensively around it. And then over the years, I've just met more and more people. They've moved here, or they're here in general. When I lived in our little town, nobody came to visit. Now wherever I am, someone's like, oh, you're in Bali. Can I come on holiday? Sure.
I was in Europe for a little bit. I was there. I just did my trip a little earlier.
Oh, that was it.
That's why. Yeah.
And then you find yourself here. And the more you travel, the more you let go of that home space. Yeah. And this is the thing we were talking about the other day, that everything has 2 sides to it. Like you give someone a knife, are you buttering bread, or are you going to cause harm to someone? Product itself, the knife in this instance, is just a tool. And so I think that when you look at a home location, it has huge benefit that when you let go of that, you said risk to move to Costa Rica. That's what you're referring to. The thing that you had that was of benefit, the network, the people, That's what you got to let go of. But then the other side of that, in the letting go of that, is the beauty of what you can gain somewhere else when you break out of that mold. Because I'm pretty confident, even with all the news and even with all the films, everyone thinks the rest of the world operates similar to their place where they live. Until you've lived in different cultures and you realize there is no status quo.
Not at all.
Like whatever you think, oh well, everyone definitely drinks coffee this way, something so simple, or everybody definitely holds a door open, or they know how to queue. If you've never been to India, you have no idea, like queuing in India is a wedge. If that's the queue, then for as wide as it is to get to it, it's just a bulbous entrance of people that just kind of gently and very politely, that's the way it is. And if you take your British Westernisms there and wait your turn, you will never get to the front of that queue.
To me, it was realizing be comfortable in the uncomfortable, right? That's the one major thing that made me advance full throttle in different opportunities, right? And it is uncomfortable at the beginning because, like you said, you lose your home in a sense, right? And to me, realistically, I was seeking a new home, right? Seeking something different.
Yeah, it is an interesting process. Me and Christina used to speak about this. Like, what is home? Like, and it's the difference between a house and a home. That's one of the things. So a house is a building that may feel like home. And we move a lot. Now, someone said this to me years ago. She said, oh, you're a slow mad. And labels are useful. They help us understand things, but, you know, we're not defined by them. And I was like, a slow mad? Because I've never liked Did You Know Mad. And whenever I would speak to someone, and I met many people who said they were digital nomads who weren't actually doing anything, didn't have a business. I felt it was a term for a generation younger than me. I'm Gen X, generally speaking. But when I heard slow mad, I was like, oh, I like that because we don't really move too fast. I definitely don't do days and weeks. We want to be doing months at a time in a location. I want to feel what it's like. I like to think about layers that exist in different places. So you have the tourist layer, you've got the young traveling layer that's got the backpack on two shoulders and they're doing their gap year. You've got your digi nomad that's there for maybe more the Instagram lifestyle and is somewhere between traveler but also starting to move towards business. And I think I reserve slow mad for the people that are like, I need a base. I need to be somewhere that like stability is important to me. But I'm still moving. So we're in that band. So then for us moving between Airbnbs, I wished I'd have taken a photo of every bed I've slept in for 5 years. And I just imagine making this huge collage of everything from the hotel beds to the friend, you go and visit someone in a country and you're in their bed, to all the moves, everything along the way. And I've started, I never used to care about a bed. A bed's a bed. And having slept in probably easily 200 beds in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Minimum.
I think there's a lot of obviously like emotion, feelings, a lot of materialistic things that we just spoke about, but there's also like to me life fulfillment plays a big role too, right? So if you're having success or align or feel like you're at the right place at the right time and you start having success in different realm of your life, from business to relationship, whatever it is, right? This can also help you feel like a home, right? And to me, I think that's a big one for me.
But isn't that just hand in glove? When you're on, I wrote down success on here as like just something to pull upon because it means different things to different people, and I think it's often labeled with like success in disc profile, and it would be the high D. It's red. It's the suit. It's the sharpness, but success to just further oneself, to develop oneself. We were discussing the other day that blend between when does the drive for my own life and my own business and my own ability to take care of myself interchange with my own drive and desire to further my higher self, to evolve as a human being, to support other people, to attract similar, like attracts like, and to be attracted to others, like attract like.
100. Absolutely. There's a thing such as, the individual that frames it in a way where, oh, I'm gonna work out when I have money, or oh, I'm gonna be healthy when I have money, or I'm gonna start this diet whenever I make it, right? I'm gonna start meditating whenever I get the big check. But that's not how it works, in my humble opinion. It's these things are going to make you achieve what you want. Meditating or taking care of your body, taking care of your soul is going to make you achieve these goals that you want, right? And this is kind of that sweet spot where I feel like here, entrepreneurs, they truly understand that. So they practice what's good for their mind, body, and soul to be able to achieve their goals, right?
You brought something up from then as well, especially when we start thinking about entrepreneurship, business. When you're brought up and you have a job, you exchange time for money, and you're taught, that's my job. I make these, I do these. And there's a huge jump between that and entrepreneurial thinking.
But to that point, it's funny. So the question is, how do you find that, right? How do you understand who you are? These questions that you've been asking, right? It's like, how do I find that? And anyway, like there's many different ways. And to me, how it worked, and from other people around me that kind of were seeking these answers, that found the answers to these questions, right? Is by finding your inner self. And that's my personal experience, right? From really not knowing necessarily where I was going to now my path is so clear and I'm so aligned in what I do that I know that every step I'm taking along the way are not necessarily mistakes, but lessons, so on and so forth, right?
Would you have considered yourself agnostic or just no label?
No, I was always curious. Okay, I was always curious, never closed off.
Spy curious.
But yeah.
Spiritually curious.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm gonna stay to that route because the other way is totally different. Yeah, but no, I was always curious, but to be honest, I didn't really care because I was more in the chasing the bag era.
Well, you don't link the two. You're like, well, it might be true, there might be something there, but I'm chasing the bag.
Exactly. Correct.
Why would I spend my time over there? They're two unrelated things.
This story is pretty crazy. So there's one moment I know changed my life in terms of, okay, now I know that spirituality is true and everything around it, right? So basically what happened, I think 3 years ago, my really good friend, who was a very spiritual individual and a business partner of mine, was like, Nick, he was like, please call this lady, okay? Please call this lady. I just want you to have a chat. Okay, didn't say anything else about, just like, yeah, call her, have a chat. I'm like, okay, trust him. I'm gonna call her, right? So I call this woman. She's all the way in Austria, and we're on FaceTime, on WhatsApp FaceTime, right? So I put the phone down. She looks at me right away, goes straight to business, and I didn't even know what I was walking into, right? And she goes, okay, just sit there, don't cross anything, and look at me. I'm like, okay, that sounds kind of serious, but let's do it, right? I start speaking to Erica, her name is, and she just starts unfolding my whole life. Like, she knew every bits of details of my life.
Everybody needs someone that ends up being a catalyst in their life to hold a mirror up, to look at things, to make that change. And I'm often a proponent for saying, like, what's the greatest thing to create change in your life? Change.
Yeah.
We are a byproduct of, what is it Joe Dispenza says, familiar past, predictable future. That for as long as the things which you do every day, the people you see every day, the conversations you have, for as long as they stay roughly the same. I got a choice for you, A or B. Would you like to hear one of the craziest stories that was a transition, like a point like yourself, one of these moments where you just go poof and off? Or do you want to discuss why are we here and why your belief structure really does shape what you do?
I like A. I'm curious.
Let us wrap up with a couple of things then, because I think we'll just stay on the tail end of business and entrepreneurship and choice, which ultimately, actually, weirdly, leads me to sovereignty. Look it up, because then I'm going to give you my little definition and story around it. I'm curious.
So to me, sovereignty is souveraineté.
Sounds about right.
Right?
Sounds better than sovereignty. Souveraineté. Yo soy souveraineté. I think that was Spanish and French combined. Seeing all these different things that bind you to somewhere, bind you to where you live, your friends you talk to, the way you earn money, what you eat, everything. Some of them are very clear, strong binds. Some of them are very subtle. And the more, just like a muscle, the more you stretch them, the more that you step out of them, step back in. What do you say? Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah. jump over the fence, jump back over the fence, and you realize, oh, well, then you just make a door. And you can pass through any of these barriers whenever you want. That is the journey that I am most fascinated with. It's the journey that we promote inside Sovereign Soul, is how do you support and be part of a group of people who are moving in a certain direction towards a greater endpoint.